Everyone, welcome back to my channel. This was a hugely requested video when I mentioned it in my most used products in my professional kit video. And I talked about my MAC palette that I put together with my most used bridal shades, because that's predominantly what I do. And I asked y'all if you wanted a separate video of me going over these shades, and it was overwhelmingly a yes. I had many comments on that video. So that is what I'm here to do. However, I'm not just concentrating on this palette. I'm also going to be talking about this palette, which I didn't mention in that video because I don't reach for these colors for bridal as much, but I do use them and they are MAC. So I wanted to include those. And then I have a few of the single ones in the pots as well, because they do come in two different forms. So you can get them individually like this in their own little compact, and those retail for $25 each, and they come in a whopping 80 different shades. Now that is just for their regular eyeshadow. They also have Powder Kiss eyeshadows and they have Dazzle Shadow eyeshadows. I have one or two from those collections as well, but when you order them like this, you can only get them in the pans like this in a pro store or online, and they retail for $11. There's not as many options. There's just a few colors that you can only get in the single shadows versus the pans, but the majority of the shades are the same. And then you also can get the palettes and inserts on their website and at pro stores as well. You're just not gonna be able to find those at like counters within department stores or like at Ulta and other places that sell MAC. So what I'm going to do is quickly go through all of these shades. I'm gonna swatch them and put them up on the screen for y'all. And then I have done 5 different looks using the shades that I have in my collection, just showing you what colors I would choose to put together, a couple of different options. No new like out of this world technique we're talking about here. It's just, why do I choose to put these colors together? How do I choose to use them, not only on myself, but also on my clients? So let's go ahead and start with swatches. I'm gonna start with my bridal palette. That's what I call this one because it's the one I use the most on brides. Now I am going to be describing these in a few words, and I'm taking the descriptions directly from MAC's website. And I'm going to be going left to right for all 15 of these shades. These palettes do hold 15 shades. So on this first row, we're gonna start out with Nylon, which is a pale gold with icy shimmer. Then we have Jest, which is a soft peach with icy shimmer. Malt, which is a soft pinkish beige. Tet-a-Tent, peachy soft neutral. And Cork, a muted golden brown. The next row, there is Ricepaper, peachy gold with shimmer. All the Glitters, beige with gold pearl. Uninterrupted, burnt yellow brown. Haux, soft muted rosy brown. And Swiss Chocolate, muted reddish brown. Next row, we have Motif, champagne gold that reflects pink. Honey Lust, bronze dipped peach. Soft brown, soft golden peachy brown. Royal Rendezvous, muted light brown. And Brune, muted blackish brown. So that is all of the colors in this palette. Now we're gonna go on to this palette. I only have 12 colors. I still have 3 openings. Don't worry, they will be filled sooner than later. Top row is Yes to Sequins, which is a light gold with pink pearl. This is a Dazzle Shadow. So it's not the regular pans, it is in their Dazzle Shadow collection. Grain, which is golden beige with icy shimmer. Sandstone, warm taupe. Espresso, muted golden brown. Next row is Jingle Ball Bronze, which is an intense bronze sparkle. Samoa Silk, peachy nude. Natural Wilderness, Dirty Mustard Brown. Mo Money, Mo Problems, vibrant hunter green. The final row is Antiqued, ash brown with bronze. My Tweety, a muted nude, and this is the Powder Kiss eyeshadow formula. Finjan, mauvey brown. And Carbon, most intense rich black. Now I'm gonna put up a screen with the 4 individual shades that I have. Saddle, golden orange brown. Sable, gold plum with bronze pearl. Woodwinked, warm antique gold. And Omega, soft muted beige taupe. So you can pause the video and screenshot those if you want to see them in the future. But now that we've gone through all the swatches, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the first of 5 looks using these shadows. For this first look that I'm going to do, it's very simple, but it's also one that I did on one of my brides that I posted on Instagram that everybody wanted a tutorial for. And I think probably you wanted the full face tutorial, which I can definitely do. But this is the eye look that I did. Very simple, but very soft, ethereal, and pretty. So I'm gonna start out with Tet-a-Tent in the crease on a Refer 27. And this is a very pretty peachy brown shade with a slight hint of a pinky hue, but it really goes on just more of like a cool, soft brown color. And then I'm gonna take all that glitters on a Refer number 2 brush. And if you noticed, I take it and I start it kind of up in the crease and I pull the brush down. To me, that gives the most amount of pigment. And this is just a really pretty, soft shimmer shade with a touch of pink. Then I'm gonna take Espresso on a Refer 29 and use that as a shadow liner just to define the top of the lash line. Then I'm gonna take Swiss Chocolate on a Refer 13 mini and slightly diffuse the outer corner of that liner while also bringing it up into the outer corner of the eye, just for a little bit of a smoky effect. And then I'm going to take that same brush and the same Swiss Chocolate and use it to continue the color underneath my eye and attach the corners so it looks like a continuous effect with the entire eyeshadow look. Add on some mascara and we have the finished look. Again, a very soft, pretty, easily attainable, perfect for bridal, wedding guest, all year round, doesn't matter, look. Today we are going to do a cooler tone look and it's gonna be mostly matte. We're gonna start out with a shade called Malt, which is an OG in MAC. And I'm gonna start with that in the crease and it's such a light shade that we may go in with another shade on top of it. But we're just gonna start layering. I do find that even though I have a powder that has set my NARS concealer that I always prime my eyes with, that when you layer on a super light crease shade for your skin tone with the intention of going over it with another crease color, that second crease color, I mean, it just applies even better. Now it's definitely showing up on my eye, but it is lighter in tone. It's showing up. Do I want to go in with another shade? You know what? I'm gonna go in on the outermost part of my crease with Haux, H-A-U-X, and a little bit more of a detailed brush. So this is kind of just like one step up from Malt. And I'm just gonna take it, like I said, with a skinnier brush right on this outer part of my crease. I'm not going in a V. It's not like an outer corner smoky color. It's just to kind of intensify that crease color. And then I'll go in with that original brush, kind of blend it out a little bit. Now I'm gonna take a flat brush and I'm gonna go in with the shade Grain, which this is described as a golden beige with icy shimmer. I honestly get a little bit more of a cooler tone from this, and it does have a sheen. There's not shimmer in this to me. So I said at the beginning it's gonna be all matte because honestly, at the end, it really looks more matte than not, because it's such a fine sheen in this shade. And I'm just including this on my lid. Now, if you really wanted to make this, or truly any lighter matte slash subtle sheen color on your lid, especially pop, you would go in with like a concealer of a lighter kind and kind of, for lack of a better word, cut your crease. It doesn't have to be, you know, an intense cut crease, but basically put it everywhere you're wanting to put that lighter shade, and it's just gonna make it even brighter and pop even more. But I really want this one to be more subtle, so I chose not to do that. I'm gonna take Royal Rendezvous, which is basically an acceleration of Haux, okay? It's just like it's like Malt, Haux, and then Royal Rendezvous are in the same kind of color family, but it's just a little bit darker. I'm gonna use that for the outer corner, just lightly. I don't want anything too smoky. And then I'm gonna use, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Finjan is how it is spelled. I'm gonna Google it.
Finjan.
Finjan. Okay. Finjan, which is kind of in this color story, but when you swatch it, it has more of like a brown undertone, but it's definitely a cooler brown. So I'm just gonna put this kind of as a smoky liner. And I don't want anything dark on the lower lash line, so I'm gonna go in with Haux, which is that kind of second crease color. So it's gonna show up a little bit better than Malt, but it's not gonna be super dark like Finjan or Royal Rendezvous would probably translate on the lower lash line. Mascara, and we're done. So this is definitely one of the cooler toned looks that I will go for when working with these MAC palettes and MAC shades in general, because it is not too pink, it's not too purple, it's kind of a good mix of in between, and I find that my clients just feel more comfortable in this versus me going in with a legit pink or a stronger purple. Okay, this is one that I almost forgot to put in here because I don't have these in like the pro palette form. I have them in the actual compacts, but I still use them. And this is quite honestly probably the easiest look that I'm gonna do out of all of these looks, but it's also probably my favorite because of the color story and just how good it looks at the end. So I'm gonna start with Woodwinked, which is just truly a staple in the MAC eyeshadow world. I feel like everybody who has tried a MAC eyeshadow has probably tried Woodwinked. And this is gonna be the star of the show today. So I'm just gonna take my Alter Ego 203 brush and apply as a wash of color. So I'm not only applying it, you know, on the lid, but also up into the crease, kind of like I did with Uninterrupted. The difference is that this is more of a satin shimmer shade versus the matte that the Uninterrupted was. And I think Woodwinked is one of my favorite shades because of how different it looks on everybody. I will put it on some people and it will look straight gold. And on me, it's more of a bronze. Like it has more of like a darker brown undertone. Some people, it looks more matte than it does any kind of satin. It's just so different. It takes on its own personality depending on whose eye it's going on, really. And as I'm blending it up into the crease, it doesn't look like a shimmer shade. And it looks more brown in the crease, whereas on the lid, it looks more bronze. So it's almost like, even though it's not duochrome, it's kind of taking on that effect on the eye. And then I'm gonna take Saddle, which is a matte color, and it's a very warm terracotta brown on my refer number 14. And I'm just going to roughly put this really on the inner or the outer, outer, like half of the eye. And I really want it to kind of blend in with the Woodwinked versus looking like I have two different shades on the eye. I just want it to be a gradient of that bronze to the warmer brown. And I very rarely will use a shimmer shade on my lower lash line, but Woodwinked is where I make an exception almost every time. I just think it looks so pretty smoked out on the lower lash line if I don't put myself in the eye. And I like to go a little bit heavier on the smoke. When I say that, I mean I will use a brush that's like a little bit bigger than some of my other more detailed brushes. This is a Wayne Goss number 20. Because I don't care if the smoke comes down a little farther than some of my other shades go, because for some reason it just works with this shade. So depending on how I turn my eye, that lower lash line shade is going to catch the light. It's either going to look matte or it's going to look bronze. I don't do a liner with this look because once you put on mascara, I just don't feel like you need it. I just feel like this is the easiest bronzy, most gorgeous look, especially to enhance honestly any eye color. I think these shades in particular make green, blue, brown, hazel, it don't matter. It makes your eyes pop. And it's probably why it's my favorite combo of pretty much all of my MAC shadows. So let's jump into the next one. Today I'm gonna do something a little bit warmer, still with a little bit of sheen to it. I'm gonna start with Uninterrupted, which is one of my original favorite shades from MAC. It is kind of one of those looks like throw up in the pan, how could it possibly look good on your eyes type of shade. I've talked about it ever since I started my channel. But there's something about what it does once you apply it on the eyes. It just looks good on everyone. I'm gonna use a Refer number 33, which is a much larger brush, but this is because I'm basically having this as my main shade. So I'm going to kind of press it into the eye like that. I'm okay if it gets in the crease. I want it to get in the crease, but I'm gonna take a separate blending brush to kind of help fade any of those harsh lines out in the crease and give it more of a gradient effect. If you really want to pack on a color, this brush is going to be your best friend. Then I'm going to take a Refer number 3 and go into the shade Carbon, which is their matte black shade. And I'm going to use this to do a smoky liner and then kind of set it on its side and go up a little bit. Smoke it up on that lash line, giving a smoky effect. I'm gonna take that same brush while I have it out, add a little bit of Carbon to the outer corner as if I'm drawing a circle around my eye. So I wanna connect it to this Carbon that I put on the top, and then take a Refer 13 Mini back into the Uninterrupted and connect that from the crease to the lower lash line and have that kind of smoke that black out. And that right there is probably the easiest smoky eye you can do. It is definitely a 2-step technique that I use on clients that ask for a smoky eye. The only other thing that you could do if you wanted to amp it up a little bit and not have it all matte is take a smaller detail brush. I'm gonna use the Refer 28 and I'm gonna go into Nylon, which for the longest time was the one shade that a lot of people put in as their inner corner and brow bone highlight, because it is definitely a brighter, almost yellow toned champagne shade. And I'm really just gonna concentrate that in the center of the lid, and then take that same brush that I had Uninterrupted on and kind of just buff out any harsh lines that may have come from that. It's okay if it gets on the liner a little bit. You just don't want to take it too far up into the crease. So you still have that smoky eye effect, but a little bit of brightness to kind of cut it if you don't want it to be as dark or as matte. A couple layers of some good mascara and you have even more of a smoky effect that can easily be done super, super quick. I mean, 2 to 3 shadows max, and you have this eye look. So let's go ahead and jump into the next one. Okay, it's our last look, and I'm kind of sad. I've been having so much fun playing in these MAC shadows. This one's gonna be probably my favorite one out of all the ones that we've done, just because it incorporates my favorite color. But to start, I am going to use probably, I feel like, the most known color from the MAC shadows, and it's soft brown. A really good staple matte brown shade. It's the perfect mid-tone for like a crease color, which I'm using it today. You can use it all over. It's widely talked about when MAC shadows are talked about, and for a good reason. I'm gonna work in some shimmer shades, and I'm going to incorporate 3 different ones on my lid. I kind of want to get it to where it looks more like a gradient from like light, medium to dark. But I think I'm gonna start on the outside and go in. We're just gonna wing it, okay? So I'm gonna start with Antiqued, which is this antiqued, like almost burnt brown shade with a little bit of a sheen. It's such a small amount of sheen that it can honestly be interpreted as matte on the eye. And I'm using this to start defining the outer corner. Super pigmented and very, very, very easy to apply and blend. Then I'm gonna take a different brush because, again, I'm going from darker to lighter, and I just don't want anything to mix. And I'm gonna go, I think this shade is called Jingle Bell Bronze. If I'm wrong, I will put it on the screen because I haven't quite done the swatches yet and I just can't remember, but I think that's what it's called. And I'm gonna take that one, overlap the Antiqued, and put it in the middle section of my eye. See how, oh, that's such a pretty color. A very, if you like a very yellow bronze gold shade, this is perfect. And I don't have that many, like it's not really, when things are added into palettes, as a gold. Typically they're not this either dark or yellow or both. And then finally, I'm gonna go in with an even smaller brush and Ricepaper. Now, Ricepaper is definitely a satin. It does not have any kind of visible like shimmer in it. I'm really gonna focus this on the very inner. But the reason I'm choosing this shade is because it does have a yellow undertone. And I definitely don't want anything cool tone to go with this because it's definitely a warmer look. And I just think this suits it perfectly to add a little bit of brightness into the inner corner. And then my favorite part, I'm gonna add this really pretty green shade, Mo Money, Mo Problems. And I'm gonna put this on my bottom lash line. I've said this many, many times. If you ever wanna incorporate a color and you're just not someone who really uses color that much or is comfortable with putting it all over the lid or how to use it, using it as a lower lash shade is a great way to incorporate it. It applies a little bit darker on the eyes than it is in the pan. I'm taking it all the way in, but then I'm gonna take a super, super tiny little detailed brush. This is a Refer 23. And I'm gonna take Nylon, which is definitely more sparkly, and I'm gonna put it right here on the inner corner on the bottom and kind of marry those two together. Don't ask me why, I just wanted to. Add some mascara and the look is complete. And yes, this is my favorite look out of all of the ones that I've done, but I love all of them, hence the reason I did them. I really, really hope this video was helpful for y'all. I will have all of the colors on the separate days that I use them listed and linked down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what your favorite look was and also what your personal favorite MAC shadow is. I'm sure one day I will probably have every shade in the collection, but they do discontinue some and bring some new ones out. So it's ever evolving, which kind of makes it fun for me, unless they discontinue one of my favorites. So thanks again for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.